This is Matt Rosen, and this is The Grit Mindset with me, your host, Matt Rosen. The mission of The Grit Mindset is to inspire and empower our listeners by delving deep into the journeys of those who have faced significant challenges and emerged stronger. Through authentic conversations, we uncover the mindsets, strategies, and lessons that have propelled these individuals to overcome adversity and achieve success. My aim is to provide actionable insights and real-world advice to help our listeners cultivate their own grit and navigate their personal and professional lives with confidence and resilience. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Grit Mindset. I'm your host, Matt Rosen. Here with me today, I've got a special guest. He is one of Allata's board members. He is the CTO and CIO of Clario. Please welcome to the show, Jay Ferro.
Matt, great to be here. Thanks.
Thanks for coming in from Atlanta to be on the show. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. Pleasure to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about Clario and what you're doing right now, then we'll back the bus up a little bit.
So Clario is in the clinical trial space. We do clinical trial endpoint collection, and we build and sell all the technology and services around that. So if you think about the way that a clinical trial is run, you're trying to prove that a drug or a therapy is safe and effective. And in order to do that, you need data. And our company builds all the technology and infuses it with science and all the services to help large pharma, CROs, biotechs collect all of that data over the life of a clinical trial.
Got it. So if I'm bringing a new drug to market, it needs to be tested, make sure it's safe for human consumption. That's where you guys come in.
We do, yeah. So we collect the data. If you think about, we primarily 4 areas. So cardiac safety, making sure you don't have an adverse cardiac event, which is good.
For the patient.
Respiratory, if there's a respiratory component, so your breath strength, that type of thing. Medical imaging, as you would imagine, plays a strong role in oncology. Tumor sizes, shrinking, growing, those types of things. And then what's called ECOA, which stands for Electronic Clinical Outcome Assessment. And think of those as very sophisticated survey instruments where you're trying to take a very subjective measurement, think pain scale, all of those things, and turn it into objective data. And so all the devices and everything and all the collection technologies all around the world, Clario builds.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And so you're not only the CIO, but the CTO, and you also handle marketing and communications as well. Is that right?
I do, yeah. So my purview is CIO, CTO, CPO, I guess, Chief Product Officer. Yeah. I also run marketing and corporate communications.
Gotcha. And how many people all in total does that roll up to you?
Including contractors, close to 1,600.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Man, that's a big org.
It is. We're a rapidly growing company. We think that we're one of the best in what we do, and it's a great place to be.
Gotcha. So I've obviously had the luxury of knowing you for quite a while.
Yep.
Did you just decide one day, I want to grow up and be a CIO and run a big technology group? Or
No. No, if it were only that simple. It was not that simple. So I'll call myself an accidental CIO.
Okay.
When I was in college, I wanted to be a lawyer. Probably after about 6 other changes.
Yeah.
I think doctor was one of them until I saw my first cadaver. And I'm not like a blood is scary kind of guy, but I think I saw my first cadaver and was like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I think graphic design until my mom and dad kind of slapped some sense into me and said, we love you, but you're not good. Thanks, Mom. And then I got into political science, and I was ready to go to law school. And I was dating who would be my wife.
Okay.
She got straight to work after graduation. I needed a job. I put law school on the back burner. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a small little town in Indiana that had a computer club, had a computer science. Everybody kind of did a little bit of everything. So you played sports, acted, you were involved in student politics, but I also learned how to program and code.
Where in Indiana was this?
Northwest Indiana, Munster, Indiana.
Okay.
So the last stop before you get to Chicago.
Got it.
The region.
Real close to Gary?
2 towns over, yeah. Right. 2 towns over from Gary. Yeah. Very close, though. Yeah, that's Lake County, Indiana. Yeah. It's a great place to grow up, and it was a lot of fun. But I learned how to build computers and code. But it was a hobbyist. So when I was looking for a job after college, it was the dawn of the internet. So that ages me a little bit. But it was the dawn of the internet, and you could find tech jobs anywhere
Right.
by just saying the letters IT or computer or whatever on your resume. And I took a job doing tech support just to get some money. Fell in love with it, never looked back.
Now, were there any odd jobs you had growing up in Munster that got you wanting to go the college direction in the first place?
Oh yeah, my first job was Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
And
Delivery or making the
no,
pizzas?
making pies, man. I learned two things. I had a manager that did not care for me and my sense of humor, but I had an assistant manager that did. That we had a great vibe, and I learned probably some of my earliest leadership lessons on how to manage a team. The manager clearly didn't want to be there and was kind of a miserable person. The assistant manager was a lot cooler, and you could tell he was having fun with his job. And but yeah, I was making pies, man. And let's see, other odd jobs. I did maintenance. I did landscaping. I was a lifeguard. I did, I think I was a sous chef at an Italian restaurant. Sous chef is being really, really generous.
Would you chop the salad?
Yeah, it was basically, yeah, right now I'm cleaning the lettuce, and that kind of thing. But it's, yeah, I mean, all of it, but you take a little bit from everything that you do growing up.
Well, you learn the things you don't want to do as well. You talked about leadership lessons from early on. Any you can share from that phase of life?
I was lucky enough to grow up in a household with some really great mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandfather, my mom's dad, a gentleman named George Leininger, served in the military in World War II. And he was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed in 41. Yeah, he was a master sergeant at Wheeler Field. And the older I get, the more I appreciate everything that he went through as a young man. Because I think back to what I was his age at, at that point, he was 20 years old.
Wow.
And served in the jungles of Guadalcanal, met my grandmother, married her as soon as he got back. But he had this quiet confidence and this quiet air. I had a dad that worked really, really hard and brought himself up from really modest beginnings. Very, very, I don't want to call it poor, but just, we'll call it super modest beginnings. And, he was what we'd call a self-made man, but he always had a great sense of humor about it, worked his tail off. Everybody just kind of gravitated toward him, and he became a very successful executive. So I was really lucky to have some mentors who did things the right way, but never really handed me anything like, now you're going to go be a, whatever at my company. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's great when people can do that. But it was more examples of the way they led every day.
Sounds like they're a good influence and kind of push you to forge your own path.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. I would look around at friends and see the cool kind of internships and jobs they had, and meanwhile, I'm sweeping parking lots for a construction company. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? How in the heck am I being punished for this? But look, it teaches you, there's the aspect of I didn't want to do this when I grew up. I never really thought that was going to be my lot in life. Mm-hmm. But, you learn how to talk to people in every walk of life. I remember walking with some friends in downtown Macon, where my parents now live, in Macon, Georgia, which is right in the middle of the state of Georgia. And some homeless guys came up, and we started chatting, and I was asking these guys about, what they needed and everything. And my buddy looks at me, he goes, "You just talk to anybody, don't you?" And I said, "Look, again, I understand the reality of how some of these people get here, but we're all human beings, and that doesn't matter. They deserve a little bit of respect, and I'm not going to ignore the guy and pretend he doesn't exist." And so I think growing up in that way and being around people from just, whether they didn't speak English or they were from a more modest background or the other end of the spectrum, taught me how to communicate with everybody.
Well, it's an important thing that seems to be lost on some of our future generations.
Well, it's all texting and online and reels and all of that. But I try to raise my sons that way.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about them as we get into this. So you finished up college, decided law school is not the path for you, and got your first gig in tech. Take us maybe through a little of that evolution and some of the maybe tough times or gritty times early in your career progression.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, it was a fun time to be in technology in the
Sure.
90s. You remember it. It was a brand new thing. So the internet is coming online. The World Wide Web was a big deal, and
Heck yeah.
and you couldn't learn it fast enough. And the closest thing that I can think of for your listeners today would be AI, right?
Yeah.
Where literally everything you turn on TV or open up your phone or whatever, it's AI this, AI that, and rightly so, because it's I think a fundamental change. But back then it was very similar. So I'm doing tech support. I remember calling my wife on a landline, or who was going to be my wife, my girlfriend. And by the way, living 2 hours away, she was in Atlanta, I was in Macon.
Okay.
Was long distance back then. Today you can call Tokyo and it's a local call. But I remember I was like, they're paying me to play with toys. This is amazing. Like, people get paid to do this. And so I learned, I updated my coding skills and did all of that. And then I realized very quickly, Matt, that I was probably better at leading it than doing it. There are some guys that are natural coders, natural engineers, whatever role they're playing. And as smart as I think I am, I think you have to know your own limitations. And maybe I'm too social, maybe whatever it was, but I really enjoyed implementing technology and watching how it can change a company. At that time, there was not a lot of jobs in Macon, Georgia doing technology. I promise you that. So I packed up everything I had. I was not on the payroll at home. Sold my CD collection, if you remember those. Yeah, back then, you had an aftermarket for CDs.
Yeah, that was a big deal. You probably
it's a big deal, man. You're bringing those babies in, and you're like, you probably got $2-3 each, maybe $5 for a rare one. And so I had a wad of cash. Had a buddy who needed a roommate, slept on a mattress because I didn't have a job in Atlanta, but I wanted to be closer to my girlfriend. And so I did construction for about 3 months until I found a job. And it was a drought summer in the middle of Atlanta. And I was on top of, if you've ever been to Atlanta, there's a building in the middle of Atlanta called the Equitable Building, and it's changed since then. But they were doing a project on the roof of the building in 110-degree heat.
And how tall of a tower on that? That's a pretty big.
I was probably 45, 50 stories. And I'm up there with a jackhammer. You have to wear full clothes. I've never worked a jackhammer in my life. And I'm up there basically pulling up this concrete and everything because we're going to re-roof the building. And I did that for 2 or 3 months while I found my first tech job in Atlanta. And my wife brought me lunch one day. And again, she was my girlfriend at the time, but she pulled up, she met some of my work colleagues, including a guy named Shorty, who had just done 7 years for manslaughter, but he was a really nice guy. He literally had been out 6 months. And I think I had to make up some stories about like where I had come from. What's your background? I was like,
South side of Chicago.
Yeah, not Northwest Indiana. Totally different. And, but really good dude. And we had a lot of laughs, but she showed up and I'm sweating my tail off, and she brought me a lunch and she goes, if I ever doubted that you love me, which I don't, but if I did, like, it evaporated, going through that. And I never really thought about it that way. It was a means to an end. I needed money. You do what you need to do. And so I did construction, and I wanted to be able to take her out on nice dates. But it teaches you a little bit of humility, teaches you pride, teaches you focus, teaches you urgency to get to where you want to be. So I look at it with fond memories.
Yeah.
At the time, maybe not, but yeah, at the time. But look, every Friday I got paid.
Yeah. You jackhammer anything since?
No. No.
It's not a skill you ever used again?
No, you don't want me doing any of that. No, I can handle like minor home maintenance, but I know my limitations.
Got it. So you got done with your summer stint with Shorty, and
yeah. So and I got back into technology, and I came up through kind of the infrastructure ranks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I ended up becoming a network engineer. I did some coding. I did like VB6 back in the day. For those of you who are out there who know what Visual Basic is, yeah, I tapped out at VB6, which tells you how old I am. But Yeah, I came up through the network engineering ranks, built data centers, became an IT manager at a large private equity-owned company, became a director, went back and got my MBA, which I thought would really kind of round my education out. Because I knew at that time that I wanted to be an executive. I probably didn't know what a CIO, CTO actually did every day as a manager, but I knew I wanted to move up the ladder, but I also knew I had to earn it. But there were lessons in humility along the way. I think it's very easy as you're working your way up to assume you're smarter than the guy that you're I could do that job.
Yeah. You hear that from a lot of people. I'm smarter than my boss. He's an idiot. I don't know why he does it that way.
Clown. We're not doing everything the right way. Moron. That kind of thing. And you begin to realize just how little you know. And again, not that they're making the right decision every time, but as a young kid, you tend to work in binary. It either is or it isn't. This is the right way, this is the wrong way. And I think we all know, especially you running a very successful company at Allata, the higher you go, the more you have to be okay working in the gray with imperfect knowledge. Mm-hmm. How many decisions are you making every single day where you are 100% sure that you're making the right call? Now, again, there are moral decisions where you're like, look, black and white, boom.
Yeah, those are easy.
But business decisions, should I acquire the company or shouldn't I? Should I hire this guy or shouldn't I?
There's no certain decisions.
No.
It's a big goose egg.
No. And so I think as a young kid, you don't appreciate what executives actually have to do every day in making decisions with imperfect data.
Was there a moment in time, early in your executive career where you went through something that really cemented that for you?
Yeah. So I was at a company called Mariner Healthcare. And I had gotten promoted to IT director. Now, you would have thought that I had just been promoted to the King of England when I saw that business card that said director, right? I was married. I had one 3-year-old in a newborn at home. And man, I had made it. Director of Information Technology. And again, there's nothing wrong with that role. Yeah. But at the time, I was locked in.
Yeah.
And because of that, they put me in charge of this huge implementation of a new time management system for 38,000 employees all around the country. 450 facilities, all the employees all around the country. Ferro, you're on. And I had done some implementations, but nothing of that scale.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's a massive scale. And I had Capgemini helping me. I had, all these other things. And I think after the first couple of weeks, the senior vice president who put me in charge pulled me in a room. He said, "How are things going?" "Oh, they're going pretty good. We're getting things going." The truth is, I was staring at the ocean trying to figure out how to boil it. And that's all I was doing. Right? It was analysis paralysis, trying to figure out how to eat the elephant, whichever euphemism you want. And he looked at me and he said, "Jay, do something." And he didn't mean it in a way like just be reckless. He was like, the way he meant it was, I got you, but move. From that point on in my career, my entire career, I don't want to say I've become fearless, but I knew what that meant at the time. It meant be willing to take the leap with imperfect knowledge. You know 80% of it.
Right.
You got the team. You have a boss who's supporting you. You're being set up for success. You have an implementation partner. Take the first step.
Yeah.
And just go. But I wasn't. I was staring at the project.
Yeah, what's that? No, it's confused.
But it was a humbling moment because you don't want to let the guy down. And however old I was at the time, 30, 31, have to have a boss tell you get off your ass and actually do something.
What was holding you up from?
Fear of failure. Yeah. Fear of looking like an idiot. I think fear of, I don't have perfect knowledge. It's not building a data center where I have an inventory. I know everything. It's not these other smaller projects. Am I good enough for this? Like, am I going to fail miserably? Is this a career limiting move? I have 2 babies at home, 2 young boys. Like, am I going to be out of work guy? And yeah, I've never looked back, man. I mean, a guy named Scott Harris, it was his name. Yeah, he probably to this day does not know that he had that impact on me.
Well, maybe he'll listen.
Maybe he'll watch and he'll be like, I remember that loser. No, he's still around, huh? Yeah. So he lit a fire under me, and that stuck with me.
So you've been able to obviously rise through the ranks since then. So now as you're kind of faced with tough decisions where you don't have all the information, what is it you tell yourself to get through it, and how do you coach others around that? Because that's something that plagues a lot of people.
Yeah. So for me in particular, I'm at a point in my career where, you have a lot of pattern recognition, you have muscle memory, but I've learned how to trust my colleagues and trust my boss, trust my team. And nothing I am going to do work-wise is going to be fatal, next to nothing, unless I make a really bad moral decision. I've learned how to course correct quickly. Now, making a fast decision doesn't mean I'm making the right decision, but I have learned how to recognize failure pretty quickly, primarily my own, and say, look, I made the call, was the wrong one. And once you realize that you have kind of a safe spot, you got a boss that supports you, or that most of these mistakes aren't going to be fatal, there's a sense of empowerment. And then I pay that back with my team, where we are hard charging. I want passion and grit. I want resiliency. I want perseverance. But it's up to me as the CIO and the CTO over my team to set up the culture that allows for failure too.
Yeah.
Because you can't want that hair on fire attitude if you're going to just publicly flog everybody who makes a mistake.
Right.
That's not grit. That's just abuse.
Well, we're on the grit mindset. What's your definition?
Oh yeah, passion, perseverance, resilience. And so I love people on fire for what we do.
Yeah.
Right? And they may not love the clinical trial space, but we help bring a lot of drugs to market that are making a huge difference. In the lives of millions of people around the world.
So you got to move with a sense of urgency. And
there's a sense of urgency.
And sometimes it's probably better to make a decision than not, because you just need to go.
Absolutely. We're being paid for quality, speed, to do things in a trusted way, and for to bring really important therapeutics that are making a difference to market with our customers. If you can't get fired up about that, there's probably something wrong with you. Yeah. So regardless of what you think of the pharma space, it's done far more good than not, for sure. And so I love people who are passionate. They may be passionate about AI.
Yeah.
Network engineer may be passionate about what they do in terms of networking, those types of things. So I love passion. I love perseverance. We're private equity owned. You know what that's like.
Yes.
There is a speed and a velocity in private equity that I'd say 90% of the executives I work with in prior lives probably could not handle. You can't. I mean, it's just a different tempo.
Yeah.
And so you have to have perseverance. I want everybody aligned with short, mid, and long-term goals. We're going to hit obstacles. We're going to be asked to cut budgets. We're going to be asked to reorganize. We're going to be asked to invest and get there faster. Can you persevere and maintain a great attitude? And then lastly is resilience. You're going to get knocked on your rear end in your career. I've been, whether it's not getting the job, being told I need to move. I've been told in meetings, early in my career, like you went in there and you gave this guy a public lashing. When you took over the new role, did you know that he owned it before you? Oh crap, you just made him look like an idiot for 20 minutes talking about how bad the technology is. And it's a hard lesson to learn, right? So you got to be able to get back up and not have that failure be fatal, and say, you know what? Yeah, I screwed up, but I'm going to own it. Yeah, I'm going to own it. And so be willing to admit your mistakes quickly, course correct quickly. The decisions whether or not, hey, we went with, Oracle versus XYZ, those aren't the decisions that are going to torpedo your career. It's staring at the project, not delivering, not building a great team, micromanaging. Those are the things that are going to really shortchange your career.
Yeah, those are great lessons for our listeners that are out there. You mentioned AI. I feel like it'd be remiss if we didn't spend a moment on that and what you see.
Well, it's even in our name, right?
Yeah.
Clario, AI,
Yeah.
the letters AI are right there, yeah.
Yeah. How do you see that impacting this whole technology world, and what are you doing to stay ahead of it?
Yeah, so you and I are kind of the same, where you and I love to play with it.
Yeah.
Right, so there's Matt and Jay, the geeks, who are firing up the laptop and just geeking out and riffing. But to me, that's, getting your hands dirty and rolling up your sleeves.
That's the fun of it, learning how it works.
It's the fun, man.
Yeah.
If you don't love that, then, why are you even in technology?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. I think learning from your peers, you and I talking, learning from, the team at Allata who's all in on AI. My team is all in on AI. I think we're at a moment, this is not cloud, this is not, blockchain or anything like that. The closest thing that I could probably say in my career is the internet when it came online, right? And it's easy to look at it now and say, oh, it's way bigger than the internet. I don't think people realize how big the internet was back in the 90s,
Well, it also
right?
took a while for everyone to get connected to it. Where all that connectivity and access is there today.
The instantaneous communication, the ability to buy something in China and have it shipped to you, the fact that I can have a conversation of you when you're in Germany and I'm here, and we could just email back and forth, whatever technology you kind of just put on the internet, it was a game changer. Before that, what, electricity? Right? Yeah. I mean, interchangeable parts. It's that.
Maybe the car, the airplane, the PC.
The airline industry, which shrunk the world. I think AI is that big.
Yeah, I do too.
And so I think it's going to is playing a huge role in the clinical trial space, both on the drug development side, being able to get to answers faster, whether it's through, being able to use computer models or simulations to look at drug impact, or on the clinical trial side, being able to analyze data much quicker and to get to an answer whether a drug is safe or effective more quickly, right? And so AI is playing huge roles. Never mind all the productivity that you're seeing too,
Sure.
right? Where I can code faster, I can get to answers faster, I don't need nearly as much old school business intelligence or anything like that.
You think we'll see advances in science that much quicker as a result?
I sure hope so. I think so. I think we're already beginning to see it. I think we're at that weird inflection point where I will give the FDA credit. The FDA is moving probably faster than they've ever moved in the past. And I think they're all in on AI, but in a very judicious way. So they're not going to put people at risk, but at the same time, I think they understand the unlocking power of this technology. So yeah, I do think it's going to be a seismic shift in the space. I think jobs are going to look different, right? Yeah. I mean, look, people are like, oh, it's going to take my job. Yeah, maybe, but it's probably going to create some jobs too.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be thinking about being a prompt engineer. Prompt engineering will come and go like this, right? The nature of, well, I'm going to teach my kids how to be a prompt engineer. All right, well, what are you going to look at beyond 2027 or 2028? Because prompt engineering is going to be a thing of the past. That's going to be one of those weird things like putting in an IP address versus a fully distinguished domain name or something like that. You know, it's really understanding how AI works, and infusing it in your daily routine. It's super exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time to be alive in the business world. And I tell all our listeners, and I've said it in past episodes, if you're not getting in and playing with Lovable or Replit or Claude Code or OpenAI, just doing something.
Yeah.
There's no guides, there's no manuals. You just got to get out there and play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you hear, Matt, you hear CIOs, and you and I talk about this, that are afraid to jump in.
Yeah.
Oh, my data's not ready and all of that. And not to get too geeky for your audience, but there are use cases that you can take on that are small, low risk, that can at least show your company the power of AI. And so my advice to anybody listening, regardless of whether you're a CIO or you're just running a small business, whatever you're doing is get in, play with it. I mean, it'll demystify it to a point where you're like, all right, yeah, I'm beginning to get my head wrapped around this. It's it's not Skynet, setting off Judgment Day.
Not taking over the world. Not gonna blow us up.
No, we're
Not
a little
yet.
bit away from that, and I don't know that that's happening anytime soon. So, it's an exciting time. You talk about clinical trials, and how fast they need to move. That plays a kind of a personal role in my story too, with cancer treatment.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, because I imagine that's one of the more gritty stories you have to share with this audience.
Preparing for this, you were nice enough to send me some thoughts to kind of noodle on prior to coming here, and the number one thing that probably speaks to mind, of course, is I lost my wife, Priscilla, in 2007 to cervical cancer. And she was my college sweetheart. We both went to the University of Georgia together. And so the girl I was talking about before that was graduating, and that was her. And she blessed me with 3 amazing boys. When she died in January of 2007, they were 9, 6, and 3.
Wow.
Today they're 28, 25, and 22, Trey, Connor, and Alex. And they're amazing young men. Luckily, they inherited way more of her than me. So her looks, her intelligence. I don't know who their natural father is, but he was a great guy. And but watching her go two things, watching her go through her journey, knowing that she wasn't going to be around to watch her boys grow up, in the way that she handled that. That was just grit in motion. I mean, she in action, the grace and the dignity. It was not why me, why God, why. Yeah. It was, I don't want to bring people down. I want the boys to experience the joy of life.
Yeah.
And for as long as I have strength, I want them to see me smile.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like she was an amazing lady. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thanks. And then, she passed, and, it's your dad, this, but you're staring at these 3 young boys, and you're trying to manage a thriving career, a household, 3 boys who play sports, and you got to figure out how to do it on your own.
Yeah. How did you do that? I'm managing 2 kids with a spouse.
A lot of caffeine. White. I think Monster came out with the white Monster back then. That. So there's a great line in Shawshank Redemption, which I think probably 99% of the planet has seen, because it's always on the top 10 movie list. Get busy living or get busy dying, and it's one of my favorite quotes, just because it to me, there's a little bit of a grit mindset in there, where it's, look, you can let it take you down, and or you can deal with what is, and make the best of it that you can. Nothing I was going to do was going to bring Priscilla back, or change the situation. And what I wanted and what she wanted was to raise these young men to go to college, be good young men, be men of faith, be kind, be good husbands, brothers, sons, dads. Mm-hmm. And so I poured everything I had into them, my career, so that they could see what hard work looked like. Mm-hmm. Taking good care of myself, so that they could see all that. And what that meant at the time when they were younger is you slept about 5 hours a night for many, many years. I would get up at 5:30, 6 in the morning. I would get them up, get them ready for school. They would go off to school. I would drive into work in Atlanta traffic, which was...
It's brutal, yeah.
Brutal. And I would come home, we'd do sports, homework. I was lucky enough part of the time to have a part-time nanny named Tracy, Tracy, if you're out there, you're a godsend, who was amazing. and she would take over until I got home, or cover for me when I needed to go out of town. And I would get to me about 9:30 at night, 9:30. And I would go, when the boys were old enough, I would go to the gym or work out at home at night. And I would do work at night. So I'd go to bed around midnight, 12:30 in the morning, and then get up about 5:30, and do it again the next day. And then every weekend was sports. And I'm not going to lie, man, there are times where you're like, I am tired of being tired. And you want to shake your fist at, God or whoever and go, why? This is my life, man. I mean, but those were few and far between, because all it really took was me to look at my 3 beautiful sons and seeing their smiles, and that gave you the energy that you needed. And the last thing you wanted was then for them to be, oh, you're the kid who lost his mom, whose dad came off the tracks.
Yeah.
No, I wanted them to be super proud of their mom. We honor her every year, every day in different ways. But I wanted them to be proud of me.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to have a normal, thriving childhood. And today, all 3 have graduated from college. All 3 are men of faith. They're all dating amazing young women.
That's great.
Most importantly, they're good young men making good choices. And I couldn't be more proud of them.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you instill grit in them? It sounds like it was instilled. And
well, they got dealt a bad hand, right?
Yeah.
They lost their mom early on, and they had me as a dad. So man, they were doubly snake bit. But no, they I can't say enough. My oldest had to grow up. He was 9, and he probably had to grow up faster than he would have otherwise.
Sure.
Trey was my, he was my number 2. But they looked out for each other. You know, they were a band of brothers, and we used to just refer to ourselves, we still do, all these years later, as the Ferro boys, the 4 of us. But we've increased the family a little bit. I got married last June.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah. And never thought it would happen, pal. Never thought it would, man. I just, 18 years being a single dad, and I met my wife, Crystal, at a prior job, and it didn't take long for my sons to like her more than me. Nah, she's amazing. You talk about grit. She is another role model for me. She is tough as nails. She's beautiful, hardworking, kind. She's terrific, and I'm really lucky.
No, well, thanks for sharing all that. I know that's tough and what you went through.
Well, I appreciate it. It was at first. I learned that part of sharing it is cathartic.
Yeah.
It's a way to keep Priscilla's memory alive. I have always wanted my boys to know how much I was proud of her and how much I loved their mom, and so I appreciate you letting me chat about her.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap up this week's episode?
For me, I think I look at my career, and I am grateful for the good mentors and the good people around me. There are probably people like yourself who don't even know that they are mentors to me in a way. I think people hear mentors and they think this one person who has all the knowledge. Yeah. I've climbed the mountain, and this guy is going to impart all his worldly wisdom on me, or spiritual wisdom. And that, to me, is not the way mentorship works. It might to some. There are people who are better at you than you are at certain things. Or they have experienced things that you haven't.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're a cautionary tale of what not to do.
Yeah. Bad mentors can be as good mentors.
I would say I am super grateful for all the people out there. My current boss, my boss now, a guy named Chris Fickery, our CEO, outstanding. He hates when I tell him that he's a mentor to me. He's like, you don't need to. He's a very humble guy, and I've had others, a guy named Mike Long, Scott Harris that I told you about, and a number of others over the years. And so my advice to everybody is, seek out mentors but also be a mentor. And while that may mean like a formal kind of mentorship program, be the model, be who you want to, who you aspire to be. People are watching, your kids are watching. I've made mistakes at home, and I realized, my kids are not made out of crystal, they're not made out of glass. I found out early on that looking at your 9-year-old and going, you know what, your dad messed up. That probably played more of a role in him learning grit or resilience or humility than watching me be CIO of the year or taking the next big CTO or whatever gig. Is just, so don't be afraid to be a mentor and learn from others too.
Well, that's great advice. Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on the Grit Mindset. I appreciate you traveling in and being part of our board and being a mentor to me and the team. And
well, your team is a mentor, and you are a mentor to me. I mean, your team is amazing at Allata. I mean, we have our board calls and the other touch points that we have, and I probably take 2 pages of notes, and I'm back home Googling things. What the hell did he mean when he said that? I mean, I thought I knew what I was talking about. Now I got to go do some investigation on what that actually means.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Bill and Trish and Kim and that crew are great. Well, thank you again for coming on. For those out there listening, hopefully you got some great takeaway from the Jay story. I'm glad to have him here, glad to have him as a friend, and I was able to come on and share his story with all of you. Until next week's episode of The Grit Mindset, this is Matt Rosen signing off. Stay gritty out there.